We allowed our father to pass with as much dignity as possible under the relentless assault of advancing dementia. There was no debate over whether to stop the clock and restore what was possible. He would be allowed to complete his journey on his terms. We had no choice but to come to terms with the nature of dementia and death on our own. The vibrant, charismatic, funny dad in words and actions would not return. That's not to say there were no debates over ongoing palliative care. I remember being so selfish and demanding over medication that could prolong his alertness. It wasn't about his comfort and quality of life, it was about me. There was an uptick, but it didn't last long. It was as the doctors and hospice care team told us it would be. A gradual roller coaster downwards, a series of plateaus and declines until there were only deterioration. I became obsessed with each stage of the process. I Googled modeling of the skin and learned that it's generally a sign of impending death. I asked about it each and every time I visited. I wanted to see it. I wanted to know at what point he could no longer swallow, at what point there would be no food. There would be no intravenous feeding. It was in his directives, only morphine. The caregivers assured me that the body also compensates. It produces its own form of opiates. There is no pain. I sat and watched the morphine drip wasting process continue with the lack of food. The dad of my past now relegated to memory. The man I loved in the bed, features unrecognizable. I researched and researched if that somehow would give me the ability to turn back the clock. I would be the expert, not the doctors and nurses. Dunning-Kruger effect born of not wanting to let go. As successful in my quest, he would once again be sitting with us at dinner, coaching me in Little League and teaching me to drive in Shenley Park. There were so many times I wanted to scream to the nurses that I knew what to do. I know best how to prolong his life. Life? How should I define that? His chest moved up and down. His heart pumped blood. He sporadically blurted out names from the past. He spoke with his deceased brother and parents. For the most part, however, it was tears and quiet. The smell of various liquids and lotions used to ease the transition. Kisses on the forehead, whispering in his ear, letting him know that his greatest fear in death would not be true in life. His sons would continue to love and take care of each other. We would also take care of the people he loved. In the end, that was his greatest concern. All he wanted to know was that the people he loved would be okay without him. He didn't want science to prolong the inevitable. We knew that. He didn't have to tell us. Each morning his vitals declined a bit. When I left for a business trip, I knew that any day could be the last. I walked out of my door, across the street over to his place. I sat in my usual chair. I asked if today would be the day. The caregiver told me he was stable. My sister-in-law and her sister came by. I rested my head on his shoulder. I whispered that it was okay to let go. We would take care of each other. He had done a great job with his sons. I got up to leave, and to my surprise, he said, "Where are you going? Stay longer." I didn't remember the last time he had spoken that much to me. I said, "Just stretching, Dad." I sat back down and held his hand. I got up to leave again. He said, "I love you, Brian." I can only speculate that he knew the end was imminent and was mustering up every ounce of strength to vocalize his love. For me, those last words will always be the voice of my dad telling me to hold the steering wheel with both hands. The next week, early afternoon, I got the dreaded text from my brother. "It's happening, Brian, get over here." I got dressed and sprinted faster than my artificial hip had ever permitted. I burst through the front door, but he was gone. We hugged, we cried. I kissed him on the forehead one last time. I spoke in his ear one last time. It wasn't a pretty death. It wasn't a movie. It was brutal to watch and be a part of. Our love of our dad demanded we do so. The great thing is that when the family gets together, we don't focus on the decline. We talk about the laugh, the charisma, the driving lessons. We recite my dad's favorite line when he picked up the check for every single meal, or pushed casino chips in my direction when I went bust at the blackjack table in Vegas, which was all the time. He said, "Wait until you get my bill." Dementia is ugly. We dealt with it the best we could. We allowed our dad to live his final months on his terms. That's what he wanted. That was his bill to us. We paid it the only way we could, with love, always with love.